Hello, Trisha Goyer here. I'm doing a Sonlight unboxing video, which is actually more of a Sonlight show you what I got video because I already took everything out of the box, squealed a few times, which I'll show you the stuff I especially squealed about, and then set it all up so it'll be easy for me to show you how it works and everything that we're doing this year with Sonlight. So we are doing Sonlight E with my 3 younger kids. So they're currently 9, almost 10, 10, and almost 13. So this Sonlight covers grades 5 through 8. My kids this year are at grades 4, 5, and 6. But I'll show you how I do 3 grades at one time. And then the littlest guy, I'm actually a lot of the stuff teaching up. So he's going to get all the great books, but I'm not going to be doing some of the same language arts with him because it's just going to be too hard. So this is my big old binder. And I set this up earlier. This is Sonlight. It has language arts, history, and science all in one binder. Okay, and so what I did earlier is I went through and it has the tabs for the weeks. So I put in every week and what we're doing in each week. And so in each week, it'll have the sections for language, for history, and science, all in those weeks. Okay, so when I actually, for example, turn to week 1, the tabs are here and it shows what we'll be reading for language and what activity books we'll be doing. It has the teacher's guide for activities, dictation, personification, a gold nuggets tale. So there's an activity sheet that goes, and then how to grade the stories that the kids are going to be writing. I don't do all this. It's all good stuff. What I've discovered is that my kids get a lot. I don't need to feel like I have to do every single thing in the teacher's guide. So there may be some things that we just don't get to, and that's okay. I'm still covering the books. We're doing the workbooks, but we may not get to everything in the guide. And that's one of my tips. Your guide is your help, your support, but it's not your boss. If there's something that may be too difficult, you might save it for later. Or if it's too easy, you can say, this is easy, let's make it more complex. So really, this is a guide for you, but you know your individual kids. And especially when you're working with a group, we might make it a group project, a group story instead of an individual story. So because I've been doing this, I feel comfortable doing that. My older kids have all gone to college. They've done well. I know they've gotten a lot out of the material, so I don't feel like I have to do every single thing in here. I will show you this. So this is the language arts page. And I don't know if it's backwards for you or not, but it talks about spelling you see, handwriting without tears, and grammar 5 and wordly wise. Spelling you see, I do have those books. I will show them to you in a second. Handwriting without tears, we do not do that book. The grammar 5 and wordly wise, we're still finishing those books from last year, so I'm not going to buy new books yet. Maybe halfway in the year, we might be on those books. Again, it says optional. If you're using those books, you can use them. But again, this is your guide for you to use. So it has language arts here, what we're doing there, with activities. And then it has science, what we're doing for science for the week. And then there is activity sheets in the book. Well, I'll show you that in a second. Now, history is incorporated. So the books that we are reading for language, the read out louds, and the books I am reading are all tied into history. So everything's incorporated. We're using real books to get those great stories, to learn about history, and then also activities like writing a letter to someone in the government comes out of the books and the language activities. So everything is tied in. That's what I love. It's not this workbook and that workbook. We're reading real books And then there's activities to go with them, and there's worksheets to go with them too for science and language. So my guide is all here, and I just go and because I will use them many times, I will just use a pencil and mark off the little activities that we do, and then I have that binder. And this is actually shows you what the activities are for the kids. So this is one of the kids' books. Now, a set of activity sheets comes with the teacher's guide, and I have the complete curriculum. So one set comes with this, and then I ordered an additional set. So my two girls who are 10 and 13 are going through this, and then my little guy, I have other books. He's still going to listen to all the stories. If we're writing a group project together, he'll be involved. But the grammar and the language is just above where he is right now. He was a late reader anyway, and this would be way too hard. Plus, it's kind of a grade level ahead anyway. So he can totally listen to the books. He'll get all that. He'll be able to answer every question, but I did not order him a set of activity sheets. So the activity sheets, there's dictations, which I read and the girls write. It's learning about nouns and pronouns. And again, it ties in to the stories we're reading. And questions for them to answer. So characteristics, organization, how to organize stories. Again, it talks about the books that we're writing, setting, and main characters. And then the science activity sheets goes with the science book that we're doing. And so every week we just have our binder. They're all in order. I spent time today putting these all in order. And then the kids will have their binders, and I have my binder. And the fun part is going through the books. So I will show you what we have here. Let me fix this real quick. So this is one of the kids' binders. And then I pull out my teacher's guide. I like to do this over the weekend, usually, truthfully, on Sunday afternoon, to kind of get an idea of what we are doing that week. Again, everything's tied together with the language arts and the history. And if you get behind, don't feel like, sometimes we will not get through everything. We just pick it up next week. And the science will sometimes, instead of doing like every day doing something, we'll kind of block it, especially if I have my 26-year-old around to help me with some science experiments and stuff. I'll save that for when he's not in college and he can come and help me. So let's go here. Let's not start with science. Let's start with literature. Okay. So I will show you the books that we have. And then we will go over it. Okay, so this is Level E, and this is the second year of American history. So this is the second year of American history. So we did Intro to American History last year. In Level D, this is Level E. You can get to D and E together in one, but I love American history, so we just spread it over 2 years. So this is included in the whole package. Because my camera's set up, I can't do a scan, but you'll see all the things. Okay. So first of all, in the Bible category, there is a book called Starting Strong, and it has verses that they read and activities to go through. So I have one copy now, kind of look and see what I have, and then I'll go order extra stuff like extra activity sheets. I will go back and order these so that each kid has one so they can write in. And the UPS person's here. And so we have a Starting Strong, and then there's a CD of scripture songs that comes along with it. And this is the Bible part of it. Now, in addition, for Bible, I do my own thing. We do prayer journals in the morning where we write down prayer requests. And then we also do the YWAM books, which one of them is included in my pile. Oh, here it is. So this is a Heroes of History one. I actually tack on more missionary stories. In our quiet time, so we do our own scripture reading, our own Bible journals, and I'll do a missionary story just because I like to have that. This is the Bible stuff that's included in Sonlight in the package. And then for history, these are the books. So we have One Voice, the story of William Wilberforce. And then there's the We Sing America CD. And so it has songs like We Love the USA, Yankee Doodle Boy, it has quotes from like George Washington, Abraham Lincoln quotes, Martin Luther King Jr. quotes, America the Beautiful song. So as you're teaching about American history, they're going to learn songs about American history, quotes from American history. All right, and then there is the Smithsonian Encyclopedia of History. So say in this book, you might have for one of the days, let's see, this is what I was like last year, we would have to read maybe a couple pages in this, whatever topic that we're talking about. So it might be, the War of 1812. You might read 2 or 3 pages about the War of 1812. And so I would read that aloud to the kids and show them the pictures, and often we'll go on rabbit trails and might look something up on YouTube to go along with it. So this is the Encyclopedia of American History. All right, my pile's over here. Oh, okay. This is the one that I gasped over. And I'm like, Nathan, my son who's 26 was here. I'm like, look at this. The World Wars. This is an Usborne book, which I love Usborne. And, I've written lots of novels about World War II. So I'm sure I'm going to find a lot of inspiration. So it has World War I and World War II. Again, this is part of it. And then In Search of a Source. So this is another book that is, I love that this is in a history because it's called A First Encounter with God's Word. And so it's about Bible translators. I love that that's part of history. There's also the Landmark History of the American People, which is, again, more kind of textbooky type of things that we would read a couple pages for the day to go along with some of the novels that we're reading. And then I love, again, this is another thing of history is Hidden Heroes, and this is True Stories of God at Work in Cambodia. So these are great books, and that's one of the books we're reading. Also, we have the lap book kit, which I will be doing a whole different video because it just takes time. And basically a lap book is kids have a chance to write and cut out things, glue them, paste them, and they'll have their own book that they create out of folders. And so that's an activity that goes along with this. And we'll do a whole nother video on that. Okay, then there are read out loud books. So these are books that I read out loud to the kids. Now I'm doing it backwards because I put the first book on the bottom. So you're going to hear from the last to the first, just because that's how it's stacked in front of me in this great big pile. Okay, so some of the read out louds this year, I'll go through the list, but first of all, I love reading out loud. I love discovering books that I maybe never got to read in school or that I never would have picked up. And we have had the best books. I've enjoyed them so much. And then when I read out loud, here's my dining room. This is where we do school. There's just a table and books and bins, and I'll do another video with how my schoolroom / dining room's laid out. But when I read out loud, we do the Bible stuff, the Bibles and journals. I don't let them get Legos and stuff out. But as soon as that's done, when I pull out these read out loud novels, they can pull out Legos and color books and crayons, Play-Doh, clay, perler beads. And I've just found that it's easy for them. They're paying attention. I pause and I kind of tell if their mind's wandering, ask them a question, but they have done a really good job of being able to pay attention. And I know a lot of families will like read around the living room. We're just used to kind of sitting around the dining room table. So I'll read for a while, maybe 30 to 45 minutes. We'll take a break. come back and read, and we have cushy chairs, so it's fine. But we're just used to doing it around the table because that's how we do it. Sometimes we'll go into the front porch if it's a nice morning. They usually get too distracted by the dog, by the bugs, all that kind of stuff. So we try to keep it at the table. Okay, so these are the read out louds. Every Soul a Star. I haven't even heard of some of these books, so this is cool. A Summer of Sundays. General Butterfingers. In the Year of the Boar with Jackie Robinson. The Wing Watchman. Now, I have heard about this. This is about the Nazi occupation of Holland. I've been there before. I've seen some of the bunkers and things in the Netherlands. So I'm excited about that. King of the Mound, baseball. Miracles on Maple Hill, which I have also heard of this. I have not read it before. Roll of Thunder. Yeah. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. That looks great. Okay, a letter to Mrs. Roosevelt. Little Britches. Ralph Moody was 8 years old in 1906 when his family moved from New Hampshire to a Colorado ranch. The Great Wheel, and it's about coming to America. Caddy Woodlawn, I've also heard of this one, have not read it. It says, if you like Little House on the Prairie, I'll take Caddy Woodlawn. Or you take Little House on the Prairie, I'll take Caddy Woodlawn. So it sounds like the Little House on the Prairie type of book. Across 5 Aprils, which is about the Civil War. The Great Turkey Walk, which is set in 1860. Again, he intends to herd 1,000 turkeys from Missouri to Denver. That sounds awesome. And then American Children's Book of Poems. And these are poems that, E.E. Cummings, familiar poems, new poems. So fables, a New England Boy's Song About Thanksgiving Day. So all these are incorporated. Those are the books that I read out loud. So every day, let's just go look. So for language arts, I would look here and I would see, that you get to the right page, that By the Great Horn Spoon, which is one that they read, it starts chapter 1, one day, chapters 2 and 3, one day, chapters 4 and 5, one day. So that's the books they read, and then the books I read. Okay, so for example, it'd be chapters from the story of William Wilberforce, Encyclopedia of World History, a song from We Sing America, and then the Great Turkey Walk and the Child Book of Poems. So these are different days I would be reading different things to them. All right, so those are the books that I read out loud. Now these are the readers, which are the books that they read, but my kids, these would be challenging books for them to read. All of them were struggling readers. They're all doing so much better now. So we'll do things like take turns. I read a page. One of the kids will read a page. Another of the kids will read a page. So we'll do that. They're not at the place yet in their reading where I could say, go read 2 chapters and then come answer these questions. So I incorporate read out loud with working with them on these books. So these are the books that they have. All right, so because of Winn-Dixie and my girls have actually already read this book, so I think this is going to be fun to do it again with them. From the Mixed Up Files of Miss Basil E. Frankweiler, Bucko, Henry Reed Incorporated, Plain Girl, The 17th Swap, Gone Away Lake, Thimble Summer, George W. Carver. I love these books, so I'm excited about that. All of a Kind Family, hero over here, the Wright brothers, Helen Keller, Old Yeller. Let's just get our tissues out now. Sing Down the Moon, Shadows of Grey, Turn Homeward, Hannah Lee, Freedom Train, which I'm super excited about, Harriet Tubman, and then By the Great Horn Spoon. And again, these are chapter books that I'll probably read with my kids. All right, so those are, all these books are the American history, and then they have the activities for them to do in here for literature. So they might have, I saw like in here, write a letter to someone in government, or they'll talk about nouns and they'll actually use like common and proper nouns from the books that you're doing. So as you're reading these great books, all that language arts is incorporated. Right now, here is the spell you see, and this is also goes along with it in spelling, but they will write the whole paragraph, and then, for example, this page, they look for vowel chunks like AA, AE, AI, AO, AU, and then they'll look for consonant chunks in the words. So they're practicing. That's why I don't do a separate handwriting for them. This is just my personal choice, because they are going to write this over here, and they're going to learn those words, looking at vowel chunks and consonant chunks in here. So it starts out here, this type of writing where they can see the sentences, and then as they go along, they're going to have to learn to dictate. So I'm going to say it, and they're going to write it. So they're actually learning about history as they're learning about spelling. So some of the topics are Annie Oakley and women in the Revolutionary War, Patrick somebody. You have to go back because it just says Patrick. So I don't know, Patrick somebody that they're going to learn about building a barn. So farm raising, Eli Whitney, the cotton gin. So as they're actually learning how to spell and write, and I use this with handwriting also, they have those books. And then there is a teacher's guide that goes with it. Actually, as answers of where those consonant and vowel chunks are, the bossy R word, silent letters, tricky Y. So they're actually learning history as they're learning to spell. So we are going to be doing this. We're not doing separate handwriting because we're doing this. Okay. So that is the handwriting. And then there is science. And again, it's all in my same binder. And then there's activity sheets that go with this. So their language arts sheets and their science sheets are in their personal binder. So this is the language arts part. Learning about nouns, proper nouns, gender nouns, personification, organizing story. And then this is the science part of it. So they have worksheets they fill out. All right. And this year they're learning about electricity, magnetism, and astronomy. So these are the books that they have. Let's go back to my handy sheet. Everything listed. Okay, so we have the light and color. This is 10 experiments in this book. There is the complete book of the microscope. There is astronomy and space, electricity and magnetism, and then these are books that actually have the experiments to go with them. So they're going to be learning about switches and series and parallels and building switches. So this is workbooks for them to do. There's two of them. There's electricity and there's magnetism. And there is also a box. So when you buy the complete kit, it has everything you need. So if it says get a rubber band, get a magnet, all those things are in here. So it looks like there's some steel wool, even like paper cups. So literally, you know that everything you need for these experiments are in your little box. That makes it very nice for us moms. You don't want to have to run around and find all the pieces. Or dads, or older brothers, who often does my science experiments with my kids. Mysteries and Marvels of Science. And then this is a Discover and Do. These are DVDs, and it's like an older teen, and he does experiments too. So it kind of shows you how they work, and then you can do them. And then the Science Encyclopedia from Usborne. So that is what's with the science. All right, and then the last thing that is included in the whole kit, well, actually, there's two more things. It's included in the whole kit. There's timeline figures. So we have a timeline book that's up on the shelf over there. She grabbed it. But when you are learning about someone in history, we have a timeline book that we've been adding on through the years. And so it lets you know that Abraham Lincoln, it was 5 years before he passed away when the Pony Express started. And it just helps to see how things were connected in history. All right, so then we have the timeline figures, because our timeline book. And the last thing that's included is math. Now, this is Matthew C. Love Matthew C. because it has video. It has a teacher's guide, instructor's manual, but he tells you, like he teaches on the video. And then it has the student workbook with activities for them to do. And then it has tests. And then why I love Matthew C. is because it's hands-on. So, like with kids, this is the thirds, and then they show, let me turn around so you see it. So 1/3, so they can actually see when they're doing fractions. I also have up in my cupboard all the other rods and stuff they use for math. So all these have the different pieces. So when they're actually adding fractions, they could see what they're doing. That's why it's called Matthew C. Now we are still finishing some of the math from last year. So we probably will not start these until like January. And out of the 3 kids, actually the youngest one has the easiest time in math. So he'll probably start sooner. But with the math, even though we're reading all these books together, I'm doing grammar with 2 kids. Math is more individual. And what I like is there's different lessons. So here's practice, say on these fractions, 5A, 5B, 5C. So it covers like a week's worth. 5D, 5E. Well, this even has more than a week. So 5G. And then it starts the new section. If they're like the similar type of lessons, where they're just like this one, every page starts with adding fractions. If he does like 3 pages in a row and he hasn't got any wrong on adding fractions, I don't keep doing E, F, and G. If it's the same exact thing, he's already got it, we'll just move on. We'll move on. So there might be 2 pages done, and then might skip 3, but then I have other kids that would need to do every page. So that's why math is more individualized. But this is also included for this grade level. Like I said, we're still working on last year's math, which is fine. And that's the thing about homeschooling. Different kids learn things at different times. What I love is that in general, all the language arts we can do together. The history we can do together. So even though I'm not having my little guy do all these worksheets, when I'm still talking about nouns, proper nouns, and he's going to be sitting here. So he's going to be picking stuff up, and then he's going to have this little workbook too. So 2 of my kids are doing everything in here, last year's math. He's listening to all the books with the older girls. So even though he's 4th grade, and this is 5th through 8th, he's going to pick up a lot. So I'm tailoring it for everyone together to work, and then also individually where they're at. And that's what I love about it. So this is generally the unboxing. It's so fun. I have a cabinet where I put just my Sonlight books for the year, and then I'll be doing a walk through the schoolroom soon, so you can see all of that. But this is all that's included, how it's laid out, and I'm super excited to start reading.